The Senate Public Safety Committee is back in session. Welcome to this afternoon's bill hearing. We'll proceed now with the next bill in file order, which is file item 13, SB 1022 by Senator Valladares. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. I'm here to present Senate Bill 1022, establishing the California Multidisciplinary Alliance to Stop Trafficking. But before I get into this bill, I want to ground this in reality here. Human trafficking in California doesn't always look like what people expect. It's not always chains, it's not always abductions. More often, it's the young girl who runs away or thinks she's running towards something better. And within days, someone has found her, built trust, and taken control. One survivor described being targeted within 48 hours. That is how fast this happens. In recent operations across California, law enforcement uncovered residential brothels operating in ordinary neighborhoods, victims being moved from city to city, organized networks using online platforms to recruit and control victims. These weren't hidden in some far-off place. They were in communities that look just like ours. And many victims didn't even identify themselves as victims at first, because by the time we find them, the psychological control runs deep. There is a pattern here. Runaway, contacted online, relationship, isolation, exploitation. And traffickers are not guessing. They are targeting vulnerable youth, especially runaways, because they know how quickly they can gain control. Now layer in what's coming. The Super Bowl, the World Cup, the Olympic Games. These events bring global attention, but they also bring increased demand for commercial sex. And historically, that correlates with spikes in trafficking. California is hosting all three of these events over the next few years. So the question isn't whether or not this becomes a bigger challenge, it's whether we are prepared for it. Right now, our response is not fully coordinated. We have law enforcement working cases, nonprofits supporting survivors, and state agencies funding programs. But too often, they're not operating as one system, and traffickers exploit those gaps. SB 1022 creates a statewide multidisciplinary task force to bring coordinated and accountability to this fight. I will be taking amendments to add mental health professionals, add a university researcher, and direct a study on trafficking patterns so that we can better prevent it. The task force will identify gaps in prevention and prosecution, align agencies across jurisdictions, center survivor-informed solutions, address sex trafficking, labor trafficking, and familial trafficking. Today, testifying in support is Ashley Faison, Legislative Advocacy Lead for the Sacramento region with the California Survivor Coalition.
Hi, good afternoon. You have 2 minutes to present the bill.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Ashley Faison, and I'm here on behalf of the California Survivor Coalition in strong support of SB 1022. I also want to thank Senator Valladares for her leadership in advancing this effort to strengthen California's response to human trafficking. For survivors, this bill is important because it does more than invite them to speak. It creates real opportunities for them to drive change. It affirms that survivors are not just people the system should serve, but experts whose voices belong in shaping solutions for this state. This kind of leadership matters. It builds legacy, creates professional pathways, and gives survivors the opportunities to model positive community contribution for their children, families, and peers. Too often, survivors have experienced systems and government as places where they are misidentified, underserved, re-traumatized, or even punished instead of supported. Too often, they are tokenized for their stories instead of trusted for their expertise. This task force changes that by making survivor voice an integral part of solutions. SB 1022 matters because it pushes us beyond siloed responses and towards shared understanding, stronger coordination, and statewide solutions. California is already spending millions to respond to trafficking, including $27 million in human trafficking victim assistance funding and more than $4.4 million in lost wage compensation approved through CalVCB. This bill helps ensure those investments are coordinated, informed by survivors, and reaching the communities too often left out, including those experiencing labor trafficking, familial exploitation, non-street level commercial sexual exploitation, and those in rural and under-resourced communities. It is fiscally responsible to strengthen statewide coordination and survivor-informed planning to make those investments more effective. This also matters because the most marginalized survivors are often the least visible. Indigenous survivors, boys and men, LGBTQ survivors, women of color, migrants, and survivors outside major cities are too often left out of how systems identify harm and design services. A statewide response must work for all of them, not just for the survivors most common and convenient for our systems to see. I am especially fond of the inclusion of a familial trafficking survivor on this task force because their perspectives are often left out of large-scale conversations regarding human trafficking. SB 1022 helps build a survivor-centered, trauma-informed, and durable system of accountability, coordination, and care. Survivors know where systems fail, where services unintentionally cause harm, and what real safety and stability actually require. This is why survivor voice on this task force is so important. Survivors should be full participants in shaping recommendations, not a pawn for legislative agendas. This task force would provide findings and recommendations to the governor, the attorney general, the legislature, and the Office of Emergency Services, helping turn what we learn into statewide action. I respectfully urge your aye vote.
Thank you very much. We'll invite any members of the public who wish to express support for SB 1022 to please come forward and state your name, organization, and position on the bill. Okay, seeing no one come forward, we'll now take up to two principal witnesses in opposition to SB 1022. Is anyone wishing to testify in opposition? Seeing no one come forward, is anyone wishing to express opposition to SB 1022? Seeing no one come forward, I'll bring it back to the dais for any questions or comments. Thank you very much, Senator, for bringing this bill forward. This is a great bill. And the issues of human trafficking impact our entire state. And I'll just speak to what's happening in my district. I represent and live in the city of Oakland, which has really been impacted by issues of human trafficking, particularly along International Boulevard in East Oakland. I think we made a lot of progress over the last several years, including last year with the passage of Senate Bill, or AB 379. But we need to do more to not just enforce our laws to hold perpetrators accountable, but also to help support those that are being victimized by human trafficking. And I think that's why your task force, I think, is particularly important to make sure that we're centering the voices of people that have been victimized by trafficking, who have lived experience, and those that help serve and provide services and resources to those who are impacted by trafficking. And thank you very much for taking the amendments, and would love to be considered as a co-author if appropriate. And I'll turn over to close.
Mr. Chair, happy to have you as a co-author and respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Ciarto. And the motion is do pass as amended to the Committee on Appropriations. Please call the roll.
SB 1022 Valadares. Motion is due pass as amended to appropriations. Araguin?
Aye.
Araguin, aye. Ciarto?
Aye.
Ciarto, aye. Caballero? Cortese? Perez? Wiener?
We'll keep that bill and call for absent members. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. We'll now move to the